Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Matt and I'm back with a brand new product review video for everyone today. Today we'll be taking a look at this boxcar right here. This is an Aurora Miniatures HO scale Gunderson 6276 CF Plate F boxcar. It's a lot of letters and numbers there, but I'm excited about this review. The ExactRail version of a very similar car has been one of my favorite cars I've had on my layout for almost since the beginning, honestly. Like, it's one of the very first cars that I purchased when I got back into the hobby. And so it's a bunch of years later, and Aurora Miniatures has come out with this car. And I've just been very curious about it and wanted to compare it with one of my beloved ExactRail cars. And so that's what we're going to be doing today in this video. Now, this I purchased from Lombard Hobby. It retails for $59.99. I got it, that's the MSRP. I got it at Lombard for I think $52.99 or $54.99. I can't remember exactly, but a little bit of a discount through that store. This isn't a sponsored video. I'm not affiliated with Lombard or Aurora Miniatures in any way, so anything I say in this video is my own opinion, as uneducated as that might be. But just to get that out there for you all. Now, this boxcar is $60 retail or MSRP, like I said, and I do think that that is an appropriate price for a car like this. I think most of these high-end cars, these sort of what I call end game cars that are coming out these days, are right around that price point, and I think this is very much in line with that. You know, $60 might be too much for some people, and I certainly understand that, but I do think you do get $60 worth of value out of this car. Let's talk a little bit about this. When I say end game car, what I mean is we're kind of getting to that point in the hobby where there's really nowhere else to go as far as the detail and the accuracy. A lot of these cars are just so darn detailed and just so darn perfect as far as accuracy goes. Now, let me say, I am not a well-studied person when it comes to a lot of rail cars. I take a lot of other people's word for it as far as accuracy and stuff goes. But as I look at this here and as I compare it to some of the photos that I found online, I'm not really seeing anything out of place. And it seems like they've gone to quite a bit of, they've gone quite the distance as far as making sure the details were correct. So there's a second version of this car, which I did not get. The second version of the car is a version of this car that would have been manufactured in 2016. But that car has a few different details, including different roof style, different doors. The tack board is removed on the newer version. The trucks, I think, are slightly different, or at least they're painted up differently. And I think there are some additional detail differences on the end of the car as well. So they really made an effort to not only just update the paint scheme for the newer version of the car, but change up a number of minor details, or maybe not so minor depending on who you are, just to make sure it was as accurate as possible, which I think is really great. Weight of this car is 4.3 ounces, which is just slightly under the NMRA recommended weight of 4.5 ounces. I prefer my cars to be a little bit heavier. That's just, that's just my preference. I think most people these days, most locomotives these days have pretty good pulling power, and the way most people are running railroads these days, I think the cars could use to be a little bit heavier than NMRA standards. Let's take a look at a few of the details that I find extra impressive. Let's take a look at the end of the car here, and you'll see the brake hoses on this car are styled a little bit different than some of the other brake hoses that come on other cars. And this is accurate to the prototype. And you've seen this kind of brake detail on other cars if you've been out in the wild. But I haven't seen it in modeled form, so it's kind of cool to see here. It's a very long, thin hose, the way it's kind of hanging down here, and it looks very, very fragile. But that's a really nice detail. The couplers that it comes with are these sort of proprietary couplers by the Aurora Miniatures company. They are similar to KD scale head couplers, except that they are a bit smaller, I would say. They are plastic. There's no visible spring on them or anything. But as I take a look at this here, the car is lining up to the gauge very nicely. And the couplers do work very well. Well, maybe not. Let me take a look here. Let's test out these couplers. Let's see how well these couplers work. So I'm going to use my handy dandy dental toothpick. Yeah. By the way, if you don't use these dental picks, you need to be, especially if you have scale head couplers. They're just the absolute perfect size for them. Okay, this coupler does kind of stick a little bit, so it makes latching a little tough. It comes apart nice and easily. Let's try it with the bamboo skewer, since I know a lot of people like those. Yeah, it doesn't want to necessarily. Let's see. Can you take a see? You can see the coupler in there. It looks like it's kind of stuck in the open position. Yeah, it doesn't want to spring around a little bit as easy. Let's try this again with the bamboo skewer. Okay, we are latched up. Okay, yeah, it comes apart easy. Let's try the other side to see if the other side couples a little bit easier. This is important information to know, guys. Nope, I'm having the same issue where it doesn't necessarily want to couple. That little knuckle wants to stay open. Okay, so I would say maybe performance is on par with, as far as the knuckles go, with an Athearn Boxcar or something like that. So you will probably want to upgrade your couplers when you get the car, which is fine. I think a lot of us do that anyway. And they make it easy enough. If you take a look at the bottom, there's a screw so you can get to that coupler pocket nice and easy. While we're looking at the bottom, let's take a look at all the details there. There is just a ton of underbody detail. You can see some of the hoses that kind of, or the wire, this very fine wire here that kind of comes out and over top of the trucks. Now, the only real complaint, other than couplers, which is fine, that I have about this car is that, so for my layout, I want semi-scale wheel sets. This car, however, has a couple of things kind of making it difficult to upgrade these wheel sets. One is it has roller bearing trucks. So if I were to rotate this truck here, can you see? You can see the little roller bearing there in the middle rotating with the truck, which is nice and all, but in my opinion, that's one more thing that can just break, fall off, and you can lose kind of situation. I don't know. I haven't had it happen yet. I've got a couple other cars that have roller bearings. Haven't had it happen yet, but it's something that I maybe expect to happen in the future. So you can't just replace it with your standard semi-scale wheel set. You have to, I think you have to replace the entire truck if you want to do that. I'm not 100% familiar, but so if I'm replacing the entire truck, the only real issue is that screw is covered by this kind of plastic plate here. So I'd have to figure out how to remove that plate and get in there and get to the screw and get in and take the truck off. I'm sure it's simple enough, but it's a little trickier than your standard car. And in my opinion, all that detail does not need to be there. You know, underbody details is fine if you want it. In my opinion, if you're seeing it, it means you've done something really, really wrong and your car's laying on the floor. I do get low when I'm operating, so I do like to see this kind of the detail kind of hanging down below the car. But some of that stuff I think is, like I said, this is an in-game car. It's going to have all the detail. All right. I've been rambling for a little while, so let's go ahead and take a look at this in comparison with the ExactRail Trinity plug door boxcar, and we can kind of compare and contrast between the two. Okay, here we have a side-by-side look at both the Aurora Miniatures model and the ExactRail model. And these are perfect one-to-one matches, I should say that right now. They are two different box cars, although they are very similar looking in a lot of ways. Which is why I wanted to purchase this one, as I wanted to see kind of the differences. And you see a lot of these cars in the Pacific Northwest anyway, especially around paper mill service. And so why not? Now this car I've had for over a decade now, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but yeah, I purchased this. It was one of the very first cars that I purchased for my layout. And at the time, the detail was just super excellent. It still looks great. The biggest differences you'll find between these two cars when it comes to, you know, details and everything. This car right here has more of the ladder style grab irons. I don't know what those are called. Whereas these, the grab irons are sort of individual and placed directly into the car body. And again, I apologize, I don't know the names for those things, but yeah, that's what that is. The roofs are slightly different, the doors are slightly different, the sides of the cars are slightly different. Molding, I think, is probably pretty much on par for both of them. I think maybe the molding goes a little deeper in this car than it does on this one. And I'm not 100% sure if that's accurate or not. Details between both of them, I think, are pretty much on par as far as the sides of the cars go. The one thing that you'll notice with the ExactRail cars is they do not come with brake hoses and coupler cut bars. So if that's something you want, you're going to have to add that separately yourself, which is a bit of a pain. But the underside detail here, these are, you know, your typical trucks, so they're easy to get to if you want to replace a truck. Semi-scale wheel sets are going to be easier to add onto this one. I haven't done it yet, but that'll be coming up very shortly for myself. And yeah, I think both of these cars look excellent together. I think, you know, once you add the additional details to the ExactRail car, you've got a car that I think that's on par as far as details and quality with the Aurora Miniatures model. I think the Aurora Miniatures model probably has more separately applied details. I think the Aurora Miniatures model has more underbody detail. But you'd be really hard pressed during a normal operating session to really be able to say like, oh, one is significantly better than the other. I would say, you know, pick up one of each. Why not? All right, this has been a longer than expected and exhaustive review of the Aurora Miniatures car. What do I think of it? I think it is really nice. I think it's worth the price that they're asking. I think that if you're someone who is into a lot of detail, like, I mean, look at these little, I don't know if you can see them right here. There's these little, I don't even know what they are, but these little wire details along the edge here that kind of poke out of the side of the car. I haven't seen that on any of my other models, I don't believe. Yeah, I mean, there's just a ton of detail in this car. And if you're somebody who likes a lot of detail, this is a car for you. If you're somebody who likes, you know, accuracy, I think this is probably a car for you. And I think the price is reasonable for what you get. Okay, that'll be it for today. Thanks everyone for stopping by and checking out this video, and I'll see everyone in another video.